Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. Happy Saturday to you. Wonderful day in the market here. We did just see a bit of a correction from Bitcoin. Price action is pulling back a little bit and got some knee-jerk reactions in the market. So most strong altcoins right now are kind of pulling back. This is sensible, very normal stuff, perhaps even a better option for dollar cost average, but we're going to look and see what the probability of further downside is for Bitcoin. Just from the outside looking in here, I think we're still in good shape. There's pretty much no reason to consider the sky's going to fall, but there's also other thoughts too, and maybe a short to the 94, 95K range may be appropriate. We'll talk about the good targets there if you're going to consider doing that. So if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. If you've been watching for a while, thank you again so much for being an awesome part of my life. Long, short, whatever the case is, however long you've been watching, I appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the like button. You can show me how much you appreciate me, perhaps with doing that every single video. And what we do first here is we start with looking at the liquidation levels first and kind of get perspective on where things are at, and then we go from there. So starting with the 7-day here on the left is a look back, kind of just letting us know that there's still a large chunk of liquidation upwards of 101,000. So just know that that exists. It's not a guarantee we're going to hit that, but it's a larger probability that that could get swept first before the pullback. However, we did range pretty solid here yesterday. Granted, that was a Friday afternoon, but for the most part, we haven't been doing much at all until just now when the price started pulling back. So just heads up on that. There's more liquidation on the upside than the downside. However, I shared this with my community earlier, the 12-hour time frame does have a pocket at about the low 97K range. So it would be sensible also to presume that 96,900, 96,900, 97. We could see that area get hit here in a little bit. There's a chunk of liquidation left. So anyways, just know that that's there. If we take a look at liquidation delta, also too high. This is starting to get too high for too long. Me personally, when I start seeing this number be this level for 3 days or more, which today's the third/4th day, there's a distinct probability the price is going to pull back. So again, last time I said this, the price went up, so it's not a guarantee either, folks, to keep that in mind. But again, heavy resistance at 100,000. How much higher can Bitcoin really go? Me personally, I was originally under the impression that we're going to see 100 to 101K and then pull back. That may not be the case right now. It doesn't look like there's enough buying pressure or there's too much selling pressure at that upper 99K range. So just a heads up on that. Last but not least, we can see open interest here. A lot of folks here locally are interested, or more importantly, they're heavier at 97,500. So there's 97.5 and 98 even. So right in that range there is a pocket of support. So losing 98,000 could imply the price will continue lower to the next key level support. And let's talk about what the next key level support is, essentially. It's pretty straightforward. These are just levels that I've drawn out on smaller time frames because, again, when the price moves in a bigger picture, you don't really see any definitive support and resistance levels. Sometimes they're hard to identify until the candlestick closes. But at this point here, just know 94,800 rather, as low as about 93,500. That's kind of a little bit of a support range. When we zoom in, I'll explain more about why that's relevant. But for right now, the daily time frame is going to exude extremely bullish behavior. There's nothing here kind of letting us know that there's a shift in momentum happening, minus the second stochastic divergence here. Generally, the first divergence is a little bit of a foreshadow. The second carries more weight. So anytime you're going to be looking at stochastic RSI, again, in my personal opinion, when you see a second stochastic swing in either direction, it carries more weight because you're reattempting that shift in momentum, right? The first time failed, second time, is it going to succeed? It has a higher probability of doing so because support levels become broken when that happens. So that's what I look for here on the daily time frame. That's kind of just a little bit of a foreshadow. Everything else is pretty rock solid. So let's not begin to presume that we're going to see a dump from Bitcoin. But again, this little bit of price action to the downside, increased volume on a weekend, more so selling pressure, testing the 20-day SMA here. There's a few little things here that are kind of letting us know that we may be shifting gears. So this 20-day SMA on the 4-hour time frame, how important it is? Well, it's mostly to me, it's viewed as or I interpret it as a kind of a shift in momentum if the price were to close below that. Okay, so with us testing that right now, it's not a support level, by the way, folks. It's just kind of letting us know that the price action may continue higher from here, or if it does, we're in good shape. If it travels below that, generally speaking, it could continue lower. Now, again, it's not a guarantee because if you look at the recent times that Bitcoin has done that, it's faked us out a few times, right? It drops below the 20, potentially shifting its momentum and pulls back. Okay, so again, there's a lot of things you want to factor in. In this case here, it was establishing higher lows, so that really isn't a good call. This may have been a good call, but there has to be other contributing factors. Okay, so just know that that's just kind of like a kink in the chain or a crack in the glass, whatever the term you want to use to describe it. But if we look here at the 4-hour time frame, we can indicate that the RSI is still in good shape, but money flow index is now broken essentially below the RSI. I mean, it's been like that for a little while, but the truth is it's starting to drop pretty fast. So that means just money's flowing away from Bitcoin. And there's a distinct probability, again, that we could see that shift in momentum occurring. We got a MACD divergence here too. Generally, this implies further downside. But let's take a look here. Let's kind of analyze what was the last response to a MACD divergence. So it's right here, November 13th at roughly 1300. So we diverged right here, and the price did end up pulling back. Now, was that a monumental pullback from top to bottom? About 5% correction. So hypothetically, we take a 5% correction and we put that up here. We could see somewhere in the range of 93,000, right? That's a possibility. So again, just throwing it out there, simply hypothetical at this point. It's far too early to tell. Weekends can be very deceiving, but when we diverge on the MACD, there's a solid chance we see that kind of continuation, okay? So again, we've already dropped about 1% since we've diverged. We could very well see further continuation. Let's look at the hourly though. This is kind of just, again, a good confirming factor for me to kind of see where we're at. Because if we look at the overall situation here, every time the price action has come into the cloud, it's almost always rejected and continued higher. There's been a few occurrences where we've dropped below the cloud, but the price instantly recovers. So in all reality, this is a very solid indicator, usually letting us know shifts in momentum. However, with us being above the cloud and the ascending trend line, it's slightly more risky to consider a short than to not take a long, all right? Well, obviously the best trade you can trade right now is no trade at all. That's essentially what I'm saying, but the simple way to understand it here is that, if you're just short into the cloud, that's somewhat of a support range, and you may see that actually bounce off that level. It has done very well with it in the recent past. But you got to also recognize too, we've been overextended for quite a while. We keep establishing higher highs, but we're having difficulty establishing higher highs now. We're seeing lower highs in the last 12 to 24 hours, okay? So having said that, let's outside of the cloud itself, what's our momentum tell us? Well, we got the conversion line below the baseline. That's a significant momentous indicator. We've also got the lagging span, which is this guy right here. It's hard to see because it's right there in that green candle, but it's about to break free to the downside. Well, what does that mean for us? Well, the lagging span is like the first indicator letting us know that the momentum has shifted. So now that lagging span is there, that kind of implies that the price should continue further down. Now, is it going to be a monumental decrease in value? Probably not, but maybe. It's really hard to say, but if you do take a look at this volume here so far, it's a pretty significant volume candle. So there's a lot more selling pressure than buying pressure at this moment. So that kind of just reaffirms and reiterates the fact that we could very well see the price pull back. So if you want to get kind of a head start on a trade, you could consider a short right now. Just know that we're moving into a trend line and we haven't truly broken below. So we don't have every confirming factor that we're going to see the price pull back. However, the things you got to recognize too, again, we've already identified this. Daily time frame, we got a second stochastic divergence. That to me is pretty big. The 4-hour time frame too, kind of being right here at that 20-day SMA, potentially breaking below. Looks like we're pretty much due to do that here shortly, as long as the price doesn't recover instantly. I think there's a decent chance and/or probability we see further downside here, especially combined with the the MACD divergence. Last time we diverged, it was roughly a 5% correction. So again, 5% from here could put us in the 94 to 95K range. Okay, so somewhere in that level. So again, if you're going to be considering a short, I would keep it tight. Again, you're stacking the odds against you if you're shorting, but the truth is, these are kind of the shifts in momentum that I like to look for, and we're seeing a lot of like early signs right now. So just bear that in mind. Anyways, that's kind of what we got here so far. That's pretty much the gist of it. Honestly, the best thing you could do right now is just kind of hang out on the sidelines. But it's slightly more likely that we're going to see the price continue lower at this point based on a lot of little small things that we're seeing here. Okay, so it's just a slightly increased odds of downside here. So interpret that how you will. Again, some coins are responding okay to it. Others are not. Like Dogecoin, for example, pretty big handle wick down, right? Dump City on that one. But other stronger coins are kind of hanging tight. So I'm going to jump into some other coins here soon and see what's going on. But I want to say thank you again for watching and tuning in. And if you watched throughout the entire video, good for you. Congrats on trying to learn as much as you can instead of trying to fast forward to the end to get the answers, right? Because the answers here, folks, are all within the entire video. In other words, I try to always impart good best practice onto you, so I hope that you continue to find benefit. Thank you again. Like, subscribe, follow if you haven't already. Join us on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you want to essentially stay abreast on these things here. But good stuff, folks. I look forward to working with you. Have yourself a great rest of your day. We'll see you next one. Take care.